Okay, here's the deal. Hyphens are ridiculous. Really, hyphens are just proof that we don't know what we're doing. They are to language what raspberry seeds are to anything you make with raspberries, but I guess we're stuck with them. See, if you consult one of the official rule books, like the Chicago Manual of Style for guidance on punctuation marks, you'll find some simple and straightforward syntactical guidance for most things, like semicolons, dashes, and question marks. Turn to the page on hyphens, though, and you'll be turning to something like a 10-page novella on the intricacies of hyphenation rules. Which means, in essence, that there are no rules. Semicolons reliably combine independent clauses. Question marks superfluously but reliably go at the end of interrogatives, and you can always count on dashes to spread life and joy to all around. Hyphens, though, hyphens do 100 inconsistent and ridiculous and mostly needless things depending on the whim of whoever's in charge of editing. See, mostly, well, actually entirely, hyphens play their absurd role in compounding, the gluing of words together. But then again, only sometimes. When we say compounding, we mean something like how ice cream looks like two words but is really actually just one. It's not the meaning of ice plus cream. Ice cream is its own thing. And then there's backwater, an adjective you might use to describe a place you live if you don't live in a real place. But the meaning of that word is not back plus water. It's its own thing, but we write it as one word in contrast to two-word ice cream. Compounds that are written as two words are called open compounds. Compounds written as one word are called closed compounds. For everything else, there's hyphens. But check this out. The natural order of things is for open compounds generally to become closed compounds over time. In the process, though, you'll often see hyphenated compounds serve as transitional forms. So there are literal signposts that we have no idea what we're doing. Oh, is it an open compound, a closed compound? I don't know, hyphenate it. Closed compounds do seem to win out in the end, though. Take something like web page, which looks like it's losing to the one-word web page. Notice, too, that we're not pronouncing them differently, so writing it as one word or two is a silly conventional thing anyway. Or take email, which the venerable Chicago Manual says should always be hyphenated. But clearly, things are changing on that front, too. So if hyphens exist only to die out, why are we using them in the first place? I just really don't think that anyone is going to be confused if you write hot dog instead of hot dog. In fact, probably fewer people will be confused. So can't we just close our compounds and ditch the hyphens? Now, as a quick side note though, compound words are different from phrasal verbs. So you break down when you're having a breakdown. You check out your groceries at checkout, and you use your login to log in. Contrary to what you might see on many websites, verbal login should be written as two words because it's very easy to say something like, let me log you in, a construction that would get pretty weird if it were a one-word verb. And if we wanted to be strict about it, the modifier form should be hyphenated according to the rules. Your login information can be used at login to log in, but hyphens are silly, and I think login information is just fine, because you're not ever going to have to split it up for any reason, unlike the phrasal verb. Just saying. Oh, and then you're supposed to put a hyphen in weird modifier combos before a noun, like in restaurant-style meal, well-constructed lies, or friend-shaped coconut crab. But of course, you don't put a hyphen if the modifiers come after the noun, or for some reason when the first adverb ends in ly. So we get a highly suspect rule, a slow-cooked stew, and those lies were well constructed. So again, hyphens are confessions that we are clueless, they're fated to become extinct, and they defy all reason and therefore require pages and pages of authoritative classifications and arcane edicts and exceptions. So you might be wondering why I have one in the title of this video. And to that I say, what kind of a discussion about the maddening inconsistency of hyphens would it be if I weren't also being maddeningly inconsistent? In fact, I love hyphens so much that I might just marry them, in order to leave them at the altar and never be seen again. No, seriously, I will concede that when people argue for hyphens, they do it on the basis that they can help to disambiguate things, which is something I'm generally supportive of. In most cases, though, I'm just still not really convinced, and we can always disambiguate in other ways. So in a case like this, we could argue that hyphens do good work to shape meaning. I want the most attractive tables versus I want the most attractive tables. In the first, you want tables that are the most attractive. In the second, you want a greater number of attractive tables than your enemies have. But we could dodge the whole hyphen issue in any one of a million other ways. An easy one that comes to mind is I want the prettiest tables, and I want the most pretty tables. And yeah, they're different words, but we'll survive, and we'll do it without getting hyphens stuck between our teeth. Or, of course, there are those weird prefixy words that look like they could be a different word, so I guess you can justify unionized so it reads different from unionized, or dis-ease to differentiate it from disease. But again, there are hyphenless solutions to these problems, and if we're being honest, who's really going to think that the water in that test tube is all in on organized labor? So in the end, did I tell you the rules for using hyphens? No, I did not, because hyphens aren't governed by reasonable rules, and most of the time you're just going to have to look them up. In fact, in the pages and pages of rules in the Chicago Manual, almost half of the time, they just tell you to look it up in Webster's dictionary and see if they put a hyphen in, which is a pretty exciting brand crossover, but also a clear sign that hyphens are made up and meaningless if the people who made the rules can't even be bothered to make up the rules. So love them or hate them, you're either right or wrong, respectively. Thanks for joining me today, and as always, happy punctuating, but not hyphenating. Because hyphenating anything is a sign that you're a coward-hearted sellout.